Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be going over a large storm potential. It's growing, the threat is definitely growing. And I'm not going to call it a winter storm, I'm just going to call it a storm because I am rather confident. Honestly, the amount of models that are showing a storm of some nature during the time frame of next week around the same time, Monday, Tuesday, is rather astounding, and I do think there will be something, and I think it will be big. Whether or not, it's a snowstorm or a winter storm, tough to say, probably to an extent. Where that snow falls, that's completely out of the question at this point, so I don't want to act like I have everything pinned down, but, I like on this channel being ahead of, say, a news source like the National Weather Service, not because I think I'm better, it's just because I kind of have more wiggle room, right? They're more credible, they have more, they are more kind of obliged to issue accurate and forecasts that they can't just backtrack on. But I kind of do that sometimes because, well, I think it's exciting to talk about these things, and I don't have a bad record of predicting things that are further out that eventually do come to fruition. So that's why I am talking about this storm system again. I think it's looking pretty promising. Now, I do want to say before I get into this video, if you guys do enjoy this type of content, obviously this weather content, I'm a weather enthusiast. No, I am not a meteorologist, right? I don't want to pretend like I'm one. I've never said I was. And so if you do enjoy that, consider subscribing, consider liking. Obviously, don't do that just because I told you so. Do it if you actually enjoy the channel, watch the video, right? Check it out if you don't know if you enjoy it yet. And if you have any comments, leave it down below. I will get to it most likely. I usually answer most of them. Which I kind of pride myself on, if you will. I answer almost every comment, which a lot of people don't do if they have, I guess, channels, because it takes some time, but I love doing it. Let me show you the GFS model. Today's video, by the way, will be a bit quicker because I don't have too much time to spare, and that's because of my bad time management and planning for today, not because I don't want to give you guys any more time. I love making these videos. But let's take a look at this. Right there, boom, we have a storm system. That's not the one I'm talking about. What I'm looking for is around that same time frame next week. So not that one, but around right here. You can see what the GFS does, right? It blows up a giant system from a cold front and from a cold front of an old system, and kind of the remaining precip of I shouldn't say remaining. It just taps the moisture source of the ocean, which is rather fast. And notice that it does develop a rather big storm, right? And that's, very characteristic of what several models are also doing. So again, it's not an outlier in this case, but there are some models that show this system just to kind of emphasize the spread on this, but at the same time show you the consistency. If you're confused, let me explain. So some models show this low pressure way over here developing into a massive beast across the Midwest, dropping lots of snow. Some show snow all the way into the Texas area. You're kind of like a panhandle low pressure, panhandle hooker, I think that's what it's called exactly. And some develop snow across these areas, so the spread is there. And then some just develop this giant system, mainly rainy, but it does have some snow across the backside, but not really enough to call it, I guess, a snowstorm. And then some develop really heavy snow across the southwest. Okay, so you get the point. It could be literally occurring anywhere, maybe just not the deep south. It probably won't be occurring here because it's not enough, I guess, cold air. But yeah, it's a lot of spread. I won't be able to show you every single scenario because there's just that many. But I do want to say that I don't think there's a single model that I looked at that doesn't show some kind of system, which again is rather impressive being this far out. And I do want to say that I am relatively confident for this time frame, again, for being a week out. So I'm not confident that it will occur, but I'm more confident than I usually would with such a disparity in time. I do want to say, again, the GFS does show something, right, more towards the south trying to develop. It shows a nor'easter, but nothing comes to fruition. And again, it's around the 200, I guess, 10 to under 300 hours. That's the time frame we're looking for. Let's take a look at the noon model run of the GFS. This model comes out every 6 hours, I should say. And let's see what it does. So you can see that's the system this week. That's not the one we're focused on. That's going to play a piece into what we may be looking at, that system's energy, again, developing potentially that nor'easter. But look what it does. It develops a beast, a very large storm, and it's powerful. So again, kind of 2 model runs now in a row developing a large system. If you recall, it was just a European now, or it was just a European yesterday. Now it's the GFS that has joined that train, if you will. And it does show an active pattern later on as well. The West is pretty much consistently seeing precipitation during that time frame. Yeah, it doesn't stop. So I mean, look at those storms right there. That's a guarantee for sure. Let's take a look at the morning one, shall we? This is another one that is just 6 hours earlier. Now, why am I showing you this? This is so pointless. No, it's not. It shows us consistency. If the model shows a storm, many times in a row versus just once and then it's gone in the next set of data that it receives, then it's most likely just a fluke. Now, especially if a model like the European and the Canadian and its ensembles agree on that consistently, there's pretty much no evidence that suggests that there isn't a growing threat for the storm. Now, of course, it's still not a certainty that will occur. I'm not saying that. It may seem like I am because, a lot of people make assumptions and whatnot, but in this case, it's just that confidence for that growing threat. There's a lot of word choice that matters here, and a lot of times it's overlooked. So let's take a look at the morning one, right? There you go. We have a large low pressure. Let's see what it does. I honestly don't even remember what this one did, if it supported it or did not. And, well, clearly it did. It developed a massive system. Now, again, this is just kind of just one particular scenario. Will this occur? I don't know. It has has an equally good chance of occurring as any of the other scenarios, and that's just simply put. I do think that there's a good chance it will be eastern oriented, this system, but whether or not that means extremely heavy rain for the coastal areas or snow or rain for the Midwest, it's tough, or snow for the Midwest, rain for the Northeast. It's impossible. I shouldn't say tough. It's impossible to tell at this point. And notice that it does introduce a calmer pattern, I guess, if you will, but still relatively active. And you can see it kind of tries developing another storm. So I showed you the GFS. It's a pretty good model. If you don't know it, well, it's a decent model and it's consistent. That's still not enough. Let's keep looking. Canadian. It's a very good model. If you've been on this weather channel, I always show the Canadian, GFS, and European. They're like the holy trinity, if you will. Let's see what this one shows and if it agrees with the GFS. It does not go out to 384 hours. It goes less further out, which kind of adds to complications if you wanted to compare models. But again, this system will be occurring around this time frame, this latter part of where the Canadian stops. So if the Canadian doesn't show anything at 240, it's probably not going to show anything or much more anything beyond. So it doesn't agree. Let's see, though. Again, this is next week. I want to emphasize that. I always get comments. People don't watch the video, and then they're like, oh, when is this system coming? Or, will I get snow? Again, I'm not even calling it a snowstorm, and I can't answer that question. So, I mean, I will tell you that I can't answer it, but if you could just refrain from commenting that, if you obviously know, I've mentioned many times, I can't tell you at this point. I guess that means not to leave a comment asking how much snow you'll get in a random state that you live in. Again, no disrespect, but I'm just trying to make my statement here clear. So, look what the Canadian does, and this is the thing. Look where it develops a system, way out in the Midwest. It's still a storm. It's a winter storm, and again, not all show a winter storm. The ones we've looked at do show all a winter storm, but it's around that Thanksgiving week, and you can see that it's a pretty tight blizzard. It's a pretty tight, I shouldn't say blizzard, it's a storm, it's a winter storm. It's definitely showing that. Now, the Canadian is a bit late to this because yesterday's midnight model run, I am not sure if it showed it. I think today was the first day that it showed a system across the Midwest, or any system around that time frame that we're kind of looking at in today's video. But I may be incorrect. I do know for sure that yesterday it did not show it, but I mean, technically this is today, right? Midnight. We're just 18 hours ago at this point. Well, okay, so it did show a system. I guess that helps my message that, a growing threat is definitely there. And again, this is not terribly far out. I've tracked systems that are more than a week out, day to day, and yes, they have changed thousands of times before they occurred, but the message stays the same. Usually if a model, especially so many, show a system where this far out, it's gonna occur where, how much, when, of how much of what. It's all a question, and it's the point of the weather. That's why I kind of got interested in the first place. It's not something that has a guarantee that's this is gonna happen. That's boring. This is the whole fun of it. And you can see it also keeps the future active. So the Canadian is consistent with showing a system. The GFS is consistent with showing a system. And the European, if you recall, in yesterday's video, has been consistent since Saturday. And with the most newest, I'll just show you on this website because I want to show you the ensembles as well. And I don't want to pull up the other website that I usually show the European on. This one is still the European, but you can see it's not the precip type, but it shows us the low pressures and kind of the geopotential height. So obviously if you have something like this, that's a storm, but again, that's this week's system. We're not looking at that. We're trying to see if it develops anything around that 240 time frame. Well, look, there we have a cold front. Look at that. 978 right off the coast. That is a massive system. If I were to show you it on the surface in precip, it did develop a lot of rain. It did develop a lot of snow. It was a very interesting storm. If you want to look at that in more detail by yourself, you could go to pivotalweather.com, and it shows you a free European model of what that shows. I'm not showing it because of time reasons. Look at that. Near 970, actually at 970 millibars. Very, very strong, very powerful. It's a wind machine. And, well, in this case, a snow and rain. So again, it's a snowstorm, according to this one. Well, I don't want to call it a snowstorm yet because always people get a bit mad that I call it a snowstorm a bit too far out. And you know what? Fair enough. I will make a compromise, but I do still get to call it a storm until I get even more confidence or whatnot, right? So, EPS members, let's take a look at this. These are ensembles, many models. 51 in this case. Yeah, 51. I just showed you 51. Let's see what they all show, and I'll just pick and choose random ones. I'm not cherry picking here, and I want to see if any of them show a system around the 200 time frame, 200 hours out. Again, plus or minus 40, let's say, hours, because it's rather inconsistent with the timing and the precip and whatnot. Look at this one, P21. Why did I choose it? If you paid attention, you would know. I don't know. I chose it because I wanted to. It was random. Look, there we go. It shows a system, all right? So that supports our message. Here, let's see P24. Again, this supports our message. There's a system. And again, you're like, whoa, slow down. I can't see what's going on. That's not the point. I'm not trying to show you what's going to happen. I'm trying to prove to you that there is a storm threat. There's a storm potential. Whether or not that's a nor'easter and that's a beast or a Midwest storm, it's too far out to tell. And obviously, once we do get kind of to know whether or not it's going to be a nor'easter or a Midwest system or a southern kind of plains snowstorm, I obviously will keep you informed. Let's see. Let's take a look at this one. P28 again supports a large system, a storm. Again, I looked through this before recording this video, and the least aggressive models I could find were ones like this that still showed a storm. It just wasn't, I guess, as impressive. You could still see it dropped snow and rain across the Northeast, and quite a bit of it. But again, that's probably the weakest scenario you'll find on here. Let's take a look at P39, a random model, because I don't want to cherry pick, and it's people claiming that I picked models specifically to prove my point. And I'm not saying that people have said that before, but it's a counter argument. So you can see in this one, again, it does show a system. It's rather large, but it's not of a similar proportion as, say, what we saw in P21. That ensemble showed a massive storm. This one, not so much. Definitely still a system, just not ginormous. And of course, all the models keep the pattern afterwards very active. So again, I think this is going to be front loaded winter, which means the beginning will be active. Whether or not the ending and the middle part will be active remains to be determined. Let's take a look at this one. It shows a massive system. Look at that. It shows snow across the Midwest. Again, this would be occurring on Wednesday, so that's a very unfortunate timing for travel. That would be probably very, very bad. A crippling storm in terms of travel and delays and whatnot. But don't worry, because again, this being this far out, you don't know if it's going to be your area, some other area. So again, not to stress, just warning you that when it comes down to Tuesday evening and you're planning out your Wednesday travels or whatnot, which you should be doing earlier, don't be surprised if you see a news headline of a large system causing disruptions, because that's probably going to be the case. Look at this one. Develops a storm just more across southern Canada, still affecting cities like Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, with large population centers. So you get the memo. You really can't escape this storm wherever you live across the United States, and I don't forecast for one individual area. Let's take a look at this monster. Look at that. Boom. Develops into a cyclone. This model does in particular. And look, it develops snow way across the south. That is very interesting. Whoa. Well, that's a different storm that we're not focusing on in today's video. So you can see the models are probably even more excited and more confident than I am. So yeah, that's telling us something. Look at that one. That was definitely a decent storm for more of the interior portions of New England. It does obviously bring in a lot of cold air. Look, Arkansas right there seeing snow. Not really a snowstorm, but again, I just wanted to point that out because, well, I saw that. And you can see that we definitely have some sort of a polar vortex going on here. So very cold air behind that system as we have snow all the way into Tennessee and Missouri in late November, which doesn't, happen rarely, but It hasn't happened in the past few years of my remembrance. And you know, a lot of models, as you saw, that the P50 showed a snowstorm across the south. And here, look at this one. Shows more of a system. It's a bit late to develop, but it definitely shows one. And again, it's probably more of the weaker scenario that you'll find. But look at this one. It does also show kind of a secondary wave trying to sneak in there, just post the Thanksgiving kind of travel, if you will, travel. What am I trying to say? Travel, just the post Thanksgiving holiday. Let's leave it at that. You can see this one does try developing something again. It fails to, if you will. It still definitely causes a disruption more than a normal system like that would at any given other time of the year, because Thanksgiving is one of the more traveled holidays. And so any disruption, even a little bugger like this one, would disrupt travel, let alone, you know, some of the systems we've been looking at. And then here's an ensemble, or at least I think it will be, that shows more of a rain scenario for the Midwest. And you can see it doesn't really show any nor'easter, but it shows a storm, and it develops, yeah, into a winter storm, but further towards the north and west. I mean, that's a massive one for Canada right there. So again, that probably introduced quite a bit of cold air. Let's take a look at the control, the kind of ensemble. Again, look at that. That develops a system very far to the south. North Carolina, Virginia, seeing some snow on Thanksgiving. Very strong winds, rain. That's disruptive by itself. It doesn't have to be heavy snow. We see a clipper, another kind of system redeveloping. So you can see it's an active pattern. Pretty much I can't lose here. Or even if I get one storm wrong, you know, the next 2 days behind that, there's another threat. So you see what I'm trying to say here. P11, I don't know if I showed you this ensemble again. I'm just clicking on random ones. It also shows a storm. So again, a lot of confidence that there is a growing threat for a storm. I'm not going to call it a winter storm yet, even though I think I very well could be, and I probably wouldn't be wrong. I'll probably start calling that by tomorrow or whatnot. But yeah, you could see this one again. It's a bit weaker, this ensemble, but it's not really the trend, because a lot of them, I mean, still develops a system. But you know, I've shown you like 10, 12 at this point, and maybe I would say, well, like 2 or 3 have been kind of the weaker of kind. Look at this one. That is a very I mean, it's maybe not extremely heavy snow in one given area, but my goodness, that would be impactful. And look, it still does try to develop a nor'easter just before Thanksgiving. This is the one that kind of occurs on Thanksgiving. So, and then Midwest system, I mean, yeah, it's an active pattern, folks. If you're a snow lover, stay excited, because there's a reason to. And if you don't like snow, it's winter time, so hunker down. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. See ya.